Now, today's topic is 7.6.0, the multiple drip campaigns. So we're primarily targeting at the turbo users, those who are existing using the follow-up campaign already. But just in case there's anybody new on the call to Dux-Soup, just very, very briefly, Dux-Soup is a Chrome extension which integrates your LinkedIn activity to help boost your lead generation activities. You can use Dux-Soup to auto invite people with personalized messages. You can search, filter, and target with Dux-Soup tags. You can auto message first degree connections and download data through your activities with Dux-Soup. You can also now send automated follow-up messages and indeed a number of campaigns now. We have funnel stats tracking and integrations with other systems. So you can integrate using the webhooks with Integromat and Zapier, and then a multitude of other platforms from then on, CRMs, etc., etc. And we also have a direct integration with Pipedrive. More on that a little bit later. So we have listened to our user base. And as of the 31st of March this year, we released version 7.6.0, which contains our multiple drip campaigns for Turbo. This was our most requested feature and can help you as a Dux-Soup Turbo user have different targeted campaigns for different groups of people within your lead generation flow. So just a couple of slides and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the real life, well, how the heck does it work stuff. So first of all, you can configure multiple campaigns and you can have up to 12 messages per campaign now. Previously, you had a connection message and 5 follow-up messages. Now you can have a connection request message and 11 follow-ups, a total of 12 messages configured per campaign. And you can delay those messages for as long as you like. It's completely user configurable. You can manually type in however long a delay as you want. And you can actually configure limitless numbers of campaigns. So if you are well organized and you want to have lots of campaigns, as long as you are organized in making sure that the right groups of people are being enrolled in the correct campaign, yeah, you can have a number of campaigns running. You can only run one concurrent enrollment event, and I'll explain that in a minute, because of the way you need to trigger those enrollments, as in sending connection requests. And we'll go through that in more detail when I come into the live demo shortly. And drip campaigns are now configured and defined within the Dux Dash. Again, we'll show you how to get there. And before your campaign is run against your targeted audience, you need to apply it in your Dux-Soup options. And then per campaign or per activity, you can monitor that all through the funnel flow in the way that the stats have been presented now. We've slightly changed the funnel flow so that it's actually hopefully more usable, more easily definable exactly what data you can get out and more customizable. So let's stop sharing that and let's go to a real life example. Now, I say this always on these webinars. This is my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect. Always happy to connect with Dux-Soup users or people just with an interest in these activities or the webinars. So feel free to send me a connection request through LinkedIn. Quite happy to engage with users and try and answer your questions if I get the opportunity. So do feel free to ping me an invite. Include a message if it's come through from the webinar. It's always interesting to know where you've come from. So yeah, feel free to do that. Right, so first of all, I'm going to go to my Dux-Soup options. So I'm going to click on my Dux-Soup icon up here in the top right-hand corner and go to my Dux-Soup options. And most of you will be familiar with these options here. You can see here it's got a turbo subscription here. And the big difference you'll see now with version 7.6.0 is down here under the automated follow-up messages. So no longer do you type in your automated follow-up messages here. What you need to do is actually you need to click on this button here, the Manage Campaigns button. And that takes you directly to your Dux Dash. And as you can see here on the left-hand side, your Dux Dash menu bar has extended with the Drip Campaigns button. So you have full access there to all of your drip campaigns that you've configured. When you first start up, any existing campaign you've got set up will be defined as your default campaign. So if you click on default here, you'll then see your default campaign, and there has to be a default campaign within the system for it to be configured correctly. And as you can see here, this is where you can actually start typing your connection request and then your follow-ups. And if you see here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can add your follow-ups accordingly. And as I said earlier, you can configure up to 11 follow-ups, so a total of 12 messages against each campaign here. Let's go all the way, there we go. And as I say, these are all first degree messages, so you've got 3,000 character limits in these messages here, and you can manually type, you can scroll the bar here for as long as you like, or you can manually type in your delays against each of these messages. Remember this is important, the follow-up messages are configured to be so many days and so many hours after connecting. So you don't want to have what I've got here at the moment, so 2 days and 3 hours after connecting, and then 2 days after connecting, because message 2 would go before message 1. So always think that the baseline starts from when that connection request is accepted. So here you can configure as many connection requests as you like, well, up to 11. Follow-up messages, let's get rid of these a second. Let's go back and make this slightly more manageable for demonstration purposes. So as I can see here, I've actually got a default campaign there, which I'll press save on because I've just changed it. And what you can do is you can then just create a new campaign, or indeed clone your selected campaign. And what I've done here is I've actually set up 2 additional campaigns. So I've got one here called Growth Hacking in English and one saying Growth Hacking in Dutch. So here I've got 2 separate audiences, an English speaking audience and a Dutch speaking audience. What you see here, I've defined my connection request and for now just one follow-up message. I've saved that. What I need to do now is I need to apply this campaign to my target audience. So how do I do that? Well, I'll go to my Dux-Soup options and I will, from the drop-down box here under my automated follow-up messages, I select whichever campaign I want. Let's just go up here so you can see this happening. So if I, for example, defined my Growth Hacking in Dutch campaign, if I press that button there and I apply my invite, you'll see my connection request message changes, and I'm basically now set up to run that campaign against whichever list I want. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to run it in English to start with. There we go. I'll apply my invite. There we go. I've done that. Now, everything else is standard now as per my other settings, my skipping rules, my throttling, etc., etc. I'm now going to find my target audience, in this case, in English. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go to Sales Navigator and do a very quick search for people who are in a certain discussion group. There we go. We'll go to that one there. And now, because I'm only interested in this case in English speaking people, I'm going to choose my profile language as English. There we are, I've got 9,000 results. Now, one of the things that I've seen quite a lot of people doing recently, which is really important, you can see here, there are several of these profiles here I've previously viewed or reached out to. So if you've got Sales Navigator, useful tip, go to your past lead and account activity and remove anybody you've viewed and maybe contacted from your search result, because then you're not visiting the same people again and again and again. So here we are. I've got my quick and dirty search result here to reach out to. They're part of this discussion group, and I know they're all have their profiles in English, so I'm going to run my English campaign to these people. Click on the Dux-Soup icon, and I'm going to ping a few connection requests out to them. And as per usual, I'm going to just send that out. I've got this set to skip 3 months and also people without profile photos. So what we'll see in a second is I've got this running a little quicker than normal. I'm only doing this for a couple of minutes. I wouldn't normally run it this quickly, of course. But what I want to do here is show you what happens with a campaign. So as usual, Dux-Soup's opened this and it's sending the connection request to this individual. There we are, populating my message in there, and we're going to notice a difference now with the system tags. No, we're not. That saved the wrong tag there. Okay, let's stop the robot there a second, because that should have saved a different tag there. Let's go back here. Apply invite. maybe I didn't save the campaign. There we are. Let's save it again. And let's close the Dux dash, because what should happen is that it should save the system tag. Instead of default, it should say growth hacking English here. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. Let's try that again. Did I apply that in my options? Oh, it's opened it somewhere else. Hang on a second. There we go. Maybe I had it open somewhere else. There we are. Apply my invite. There we go. What we should see now, when I do my visit and connect, it's going to skip a few of these because I've visited them before. But what we should see now is actually it will invite the person and apply the appropriate tag, a slightly different tag to the standard one. I tested this earlier and it was working fine. So, of course, the risk of doing these things live is also that that it doesn't work absolutely perfectly. So do bear with me, but I can show you exactly how this looks in a minute. So there we are, tag growth hacking English saved. I've invited them, so they are now tagged with that tag. So they are enrolled into that campaign. So that's Jesper. It's now going to move on to the next one. We'll just let it send one more here, and then we'll apply the other invite, and I'll show you how that looks in a second, the other campaign. So there we are. We're now going to visit this chap here. We'll let it again send the invite, and then I'll stop the robot and we'll change our settings, and then we'll have a look at how this all looks in the background under the Dux dash and how we can see how everything is working. So we are. That's the right tag saved against that particular one. So I could now, for example, run my campaign here against this group of people for the rest of the day potentially. But I might want to say, well, there we are. I've sent out a couple of invites in English. I'm going to stop the robot there. What I want to do now is I'm going to change my campaign here. Here I've got the English version. I'm now going to change to the Dutch version. I'm going to apply my invite. I will do that there. There you are. It's changed my message accordingly. So now I want to change my target audience. So let's choose people who have their profile in Dutch. Let's get rid of the English ones. There we go. I'm still keeping people who I've previously viewed or contacted out of my results. Wait for the Dux-Soup icon to turn green, and it says, yes, at your service. Click on the Dux-Soup icon as usual. Hopefully all of this is fairly familiar to you guys if you're already using Turbo. I press the visit and connect button here. Standard confirmation of everything. And now what we should see is Dux-Soup going out and visiting these people and sending my connection request message with my alternative campaign. With a bit of luck and a following wind, it should all work seamlessly. So here we go. It's now sending my connection request to this guy here, to Martijn. There we go. It's populated that in there. And there we are. It's saved that different tag. So you see that growth hacking Dutch. It's invited, saved. So I've now enrolled this person here into my Dutch campaign. And I could now leave this to run again. Remember, you can only run one enrollment activity or one enrollment trigger at a time. But because I've got multiple campaigns, it now doesn't matter. You used to only have to have one set of follow-up messages configured. Now you can have all sorts of a different library of follow-up messages configured. We'll just send this one more invite, and then I'll show you how this looks within the funnel flow and also within your LinkedIn environment. So there we are. It's now sent another invitation to Jan, and we'll leave that one there. Let's stop the robot there. There we go. So first of all, I can now go to my network and I can have a look and see who, under my sent items here, So here we go. These are the ones that I've sent out in the last few minutes from these top 4 here. So you can see these bottom 2 here were sent out with the English invitation, and the top 2 were sent out with the Dutch invitation. So we can see they've got the different connection request message as I configured, and they will be now enrolled into that campaign. So if I now go to my Dux-Dash, if I go down here into the bottom right of my Dux-Soup menu, go down to my Dux-Dash here, hopefully you're all familiar with this as well, and where I've got my drip campaigns here. If I now go to my funnel flow, you'll see this looks quite different to how it did earlier in the year. So it's been updated since the beginning of April. I can now select whichever campaign I have defined. So here, for example, if I go to my growth hacking Dutch campaign, I can see here that within the last 7 days, I've sent out 5 invitations. Click on there, I can see all the people I've invited, and I can see I've had 2 people accept. And that's all the standard stuff within Dux-Soup, checking for your connection acceptances. One of the nice things, one of the nice features we've added as well is to be able to define your active range of your data here. So you can now, for example, if I change this now to my default, so that will pick up all of my data from beginning of, so if you take, for example, from the beginning of the year, if I go to 1st of January to today, I can see then if I press OK, for that to load, I can see here I've invited 262 people and 173 have accepted. But as I say, that's my default campaign. That's what I did before. As it happens now, since the change to the new system, I've only used these 2 campaigns. If I go to this one, I've got, yeah, I've invited 5 people and 1 is accepted. If I go to the Dutch one, there we go, just wait for it to update. There we go, 5 invited, 2 accepted. And as previously, you can click on this button here to export that data to CSV file or a spreadsheet. You can also click over here on the LinkedIn icon to go directly to that profile if you want. You can also see your message exchanges with these people. If you'd sent follow-ups to them, you'd see those here. Now, these 2 guys here accepted my invitation earlier today. If I now go to my queued activity, we can see here that for both of those people there, I have got my Dutch follow-up message queued for both of those examples. Now, if somebody from my English campaign accepted, I would then also see that information queued up here as and when Dux-Soup has picked up those acceptances and queued them up in turn. So that's basically how you can then see what's coming in the future, and also, of course, as always, here under your activity log. If I now look down here, if I look at those first couple of invitations, there you are, there's my Dutch invitation. If I go down to, I think it was Marcus, there we are, I can see my English invitation as well. So now you can see all of those enrollment activities within the campaign stage trigger what will be queued up to your target audience. And then within the funnel flow, you can see, you can compare and contrast. For example, so maybe you have A/B testing for different styles of connection request messages. You can then see how successful or otherwise those are accordingly, and directly compare. You can also pull out much more specific data, maybe success or otherwise of campaigns per month based upon the new active range of your data here under the funnel flow. And as always, yeah, you just click on the appropriate cell to see the data with regards each of those campaigns and how far they've come. And all of this is, as before, a lot of it is managed by the system tags we've talked about before. In previous times, we talked about the default invited, accepted, etc. And now, because of the nature of the drip campaigns, if we go to here, for example, we can see here that this is the name of my campaign. That automatically, you give it that name, and then it gets automatically the campaign ID. And that's what effectively comes up in your tags. Now, if you want to check to see who you've enrolled under which campaign, you can look at that by going to, for example, your search by tag option here. if I go there and if I go to anybody who I've invited with the Dutch campaign, if I put that one in there, there we go. So these are all the people that I have invited using the Dutch campaign. And I can do the same with English, and also then, of course, as people respond, etc., under your tags, you can see exactly how that's working. So instead of using here the default setting, we're now using these campaign IDs to help you manage your processes going forward. So a scenario may be that perhaps you want to target one group of people on one day and another group of people on another day. You no longer have to withdraw all those invites, because previously you could only have one set of follow-up messages configured. Now you can have multiple sets of follow-up messages configured here under your drip campaigns. And you then just define which campaign it is you're wanting to run. You make sure that that's all set up correctly. You apply that campaign here. Make sure you've applied it here. Apply the invite from the campaign. Make sure you've chosen the correct one, of course, then apply it. And away you go. You then run that campaign until you want to change your target audience.